This is City and State TV. I'm Albany Bureau Chief John Lentz. Joining me today is State Senator Jeff Klein, the Senate Majority Coalition co-leader. And you just returned from a trip to Israel, 29 hours with Governor Andrew Cuomo and other legislative leaders. What did you see on that trip? What did you learn?
Well, going into this trip was something that was very important to me. You know, I grew up in the Bronx with my grandparents in a two-family home. They were Holocaust survivors. So I heard constantly the stories not only of the Holocaust, but the importance of a Jewish state, the state of Israel. So, you know, going there, it meant a lot to me because of what my grandparents cared about and, you know, what they espoused in me each and every day, the importance of maintaining a state of Israel. And I think it was important, you know, going in, of course, I'm a staunch supporter of Israel, continue to be such. But I think seeing it firsthand really, I think, doubled my commitment to the state of Israel. You know, they're under siege. And I think one of the things that we were able to do in this delegation, I think, is, you know, first show the Israeli people that they have a friend in New York State, a friend among New Yorkers. 1.7 million Jews live in the state of New York, the largest population outside of the state of Israel. So I think that was important. But I think it was important to see firsthand, because I don't think it's being covered, the harrowing experience that Israelis are going through in Israel, in the right light. You know, we were able to visit the terror tunnels, the Iron Dome, you know, speak to Prime Minister Netanyahu, speak to the President, speak to the Defense Minister, and they tell a much different story that unfortunately isn't getting out there.
Sure, and talking to those local officials, what did they say about American involvement, about the American response? Is President Obama doing a good job in terms of supporting Israel and being a friend?
They're very happy. They're very, very happy with the support of the United States. They were very happy that we came out from the state of New York and offered our support. Remember something, there is an alliance that is very strong between the United States and Israel. And I think they also recognize the importance of the support of the United States. They're a democracy. As far as I'm concerned, the only democracy that exists in the Middle East. They understand that the United States, you know, really supports them, you know, in many cases for that reason. That's why that bond is so strong. It was very interesting when I met with the Prime Minister, Netanyahu. It was a very sobering conversation. He said, this is a war of terror, and it starts with Israel, and then it continues to the United States. He told us a story that, you know, when 9/11 happened, you know, Israelis were grieving, crying in the streets, while the Arab population was, you know, basically very happy and jubilant. And, you know, this was sort of the end of the West. And I think they see that partnership as something positive because they like the relationship with the United States. But they also see that they're a target because they are a Western nature, because they fulfill the tenets of democracy, just like the United States of America.
Sure. And I wanted to touch on Palestine a little bit. Obviously, the UN ambassador, the Palestinian ambassador to the UN, invited Governor Cuomo and the delegation to meet with them. The governor said there wasn't time. The other Senate leader, Dean Skelos, said, look, we wouldn't really want to legitimize this group, Hamas, by going to Palestine. What was your take on that invitation and the, you know, lack of...
Well, it came very late. Clearly, this was a 30-hour trip, and we worked every minute of those 30 hours. And I don't know how we could have gotten any more into our schedule. But our mission was very clear. This was a solidarity mission. This was a mission to show support for the state of Israel, to see what they're going through and see firsthand that they are not the aggressor here. You know, once again, Israel is on the defensive. You know, to actually take a look, you know, at these terror tunnels that, you know, are built sometimes extending 2 miles. You know, when I first heard about it, I thought, you know, this was, you know, some people, you know, maybe building something or digging something maybe a couple hundred feet. These are miles. These are sophisticated, and they have no other reason than to wreak havoc on Israel. One of the ones that we saw with former Prime Minister Shimon Peres was right smack in the middle of a kibbutz. They did this intentionally. They didn't have this from going to Gaza to this kibbutz. They weren't trying to steal vegetables from the kibbutz. They wanted to kidnap members of the kibbutz. They wanted to kill people who are on the kibbutz. That was the purpose. You know, they could have very easily used these resources, Hamas, to build hospitals, to build schools, but they didn't. They're using these resources really to continue to fight a war, you know, against the state of Israel.
And one quick follow-up on that before we move on. I wanted to ask, there's been some international outcry. President Obama, the UN have said perhaps Israel's going too far, it's being too aggressive. You have a lot more civilian deaths in Gaza than you do in Israel. Any response to that criticism that sometimes is aired?
Well, I don't think that's true, first of all. You know, one of the things we saw firsthand when we met with the defense minister with Israel is taking every single precaution to make sure that there is no civilian deaths. When rockets are firing to Israel, the Iron Dome is, you know, blocking those rockets. And when they take a more aggressive assault, they're pinpointing areas to minimize civilian deaths. We saw videotapes, which, by the way, are on the Department of Defense in Israel. It's on their website, where there's instances where Hamas actually has rockets being launched from hospitals, from schools, from apartment buildings. And every time Israel goes there, you know, they have very sensitive equipment. They're watching and making sure they're still not bombing those hospitals, even though there's rockets right on top of the roof. They're making sure they're not hitting schools, even though rockets are being launched from schools. They even use ambulances to move around Hamas because they know the Israeli Air Force will not bomb an ambulance. So I think, you know, they're taking, you know, amazing precautions. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we saw all of this. There was one very specific case I'd like to share where they actually saw rockets being launched from a hospital. The Israeli commander actually called the hospital, got someone who claimed to be an administrator on the line, and asked, well, is there something going on there? And they were told that there's no one in that hospital at all. So that was a direct invitation for the Israeli Air Force to blow up that hospital and kill innocent lives. You know, the Israeli government didn't do it. The Air Force didn't do it. They checked it out and they found out that there was indeed patients there. You know, they're using their own people, the Palestinian people, Hamas is using them as human shields. So I think, you know, we got to get the story right. We have to really be made to understand this is the way it's always been. This is, once again, Israel on the defensive, Israel wanting to live in a democracy in peace with their Arab neighbors, but unfortunately, that's not happening.